It's good afternoon for us too on the West Coast. I am in Seattle and here in Duwamish territory. I My name is Angela Tam. I'm a life and somatic IFS coach for mental health therapists and therapist seekers, specifically Asian mental health therapists in early career phases. If you're like doing your associate's license or your associate's phase and training, like I love working with associates. I love working with folks that are in their early career years of training and learning and growing as a therapist, building their foundation and recovering from the trauma of grad school, recovering from the trauma of internship, and maybe you're in a situation where you're in a group practice or community mental health and are trying to transition to private practice, or in an early phase of your private practice but need more community. I am here for you. I and my program help folks with specifically early career Asian mental health therapists with slowing down, because I know private practice is incredibly busy, incredibly stressful, or group practice, or if you're in a community mental health setting, it's still really incredibly stressful, and working through um, starting to uncover different parts of yourself so your whole self can show up, and building a career foundation for the rest of your life so you could have skills to um, make an impact, whether it be through increasing your visibility through social media, whether it be creating more speaking engagements so you could have like a side income, whether it be to transition and deepen your business as a private practitioner. Hi, Sume. Good to see you. Hey, Natty Rock. I'm just speaking to Asian mental health therapists in their early phases in their career, just sharing about my program and what it offers. And so we help folks to slow down, recover from burnout, and in as a result, move into their next phase of their practices, which is to deepen their practice and increase visibility. Increasing visibility is so hard for therapists, especially Asian therapists. And Sume and I are working together in our coaching program, and we're having such a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing you later today, too. And really just like also wanting to hear from you, Sume, and sharing with folks that are here how there's so many different layers of like barriers that come in when we talk about like inviting early career, mid career mental health therapists to slow down, right? Like private practice, group practice is super busy. And Sume, you shared with me a little bit about how it's the pace has been so quick, and to slow down, to invite folks to slow down is like a big part of the challenge. And then the other part of the challenge is to like increase visibility for mental health therapists when we're so used to being so invisible, so small, um, behind the scenes. And a lot of us with our Asian backgrounds, and a lot of us who are female identified or assigned female at birth, we like to hide in the shadows. That's like our MO, because that's where it's safe, that's where it's familiar. And my program works to help you if you are trying to go towards coaching or increasing your platform, increasing your impact in the industry. Like being more visible is a must, whether it be through speaking engagements, be through like marketing with moving into coaching, or deepening your marketing with your private practice and getting more cash pay clients. It is so important to be more visible, and that visibility can scare the shit out of a lot of us therapists who are so used to like living behind the scenes. So my program helps us with those steps. And today, with when I'm talking about burnout, that addresses that first phase, which is like to slow down. So we could even get our bearings to really assess what we even want for our career. So much of burnout keeps us in the short term reality of like, oh my gosh, I can't even get through this day. Brushing my teeth feels hard. Taking a shower feels hard. Doing chores feels hard. And when we're stuck in that burnout, it can really cloud our ability to like really think about long term, where all we're thinking about is survival. So, a lot of us helpers, practitioners, and healers, all of our energy is given outward towards helping others, even at our own expense. And taking the time for ourselves means that they would, this is the belief, is that people would be neglecting their professional responsibilities. Like one comes at the cost of other. Professional comes at the cost of personal. Personal comes at the cost of professional, because the line is sometimes so blurry between the personal and the professional. And that's something that a lot of folks, like healers, struggle with. And especially as Asian identified folks moving into this healing industry, it's just an extension of what you've been doing already. So I imagine the lines are pretty blurry already. And another like misconception or a little like limiting beliefs that we believe is like, I must sacrifice my well being for the sake of my client's success. I need to sacrifice myself. I need to give myself, like more of myself, so that my clients can, hey, Monica, good to see you. I'm just sharing about how burnout shows up and with, especially with healers. And we're talking about how we should be able to like handle the demands of our work without support, to do things for our clients without paying attention to the cost that it would like come at for our bodies. And when we're overwhelmed, we tend to, especially for me as a Virgo, I go into practical action. I go into what I would call like chaotic action, where I'm like just doing all the things a little bit aimlessly. So I'm just like, just checking things off without really slowing down to see what's actually going on in my body. And I don't know if y'all can relate to this, but some of the default modes that we go into is people pleasing, fawning, just trying to earn the favor of our mentors and supervisors without being attentive to what's going on inside. Getting, and maybe we're getting negative feedback or no feedback from our supervisors. So then we're like left with even less direction as to where to go, because maybe part of us, like as early therapists, as early career therapists, really value that feedback and really need that feedback in order to orient ourselves. And for us in this program, I'm really inviting folks to like reorient their compass, to look inside as their north star instead of looking to their mentors and supervisors. Yes, community is so important, but like going inside and actually reaching in first is the last thing we do. The last thing. It's We're conditioned to not trust ourselves. We're conditioned to not see ourselves as credible. We're conditioned to not see ourselves as trustworthy. And that is like the foundation of our program. That's like what systems of oppression really want us to do. They want us to not see ourselves as people who are worthy of falling back on, of doing like trust falls with. When we think of doing trust falls, have y'all done it growing up at camp? I didn't really go to camp, but I went to this one camp up in Massachusetts with my high school program where we did the traditional trust falls. And when you do trust falls, you're like, I'm going to pick the tallest, strongest person. And when we do it with ourselves, we don't think, oh, like that, we can believe in ourselves. We can trust in ourselves. That was never cultivated, at least with me. My mother always taught me to look outward. And so the invitation here is looking inward. So when we're constantly looking outward for our mentors, supervisors, our licensing supervisors, especially. We're wanting them to get the approval, gain their approval, so we can know where to go next. And then one of the biggest struggles for early career therapists is really wondering, am I doing a good job? Am I being effective? And when your supervisor is not really supportive and they are really critical, like it really can impact how you see yourself as a therapist. And so I noticed that for me, at least in my early career growth, my question that I always asked myself was, am I good enough? Am I a good enough therapist? And sometimes that question can keep us up at night as early career therapists. And if you're in private practice or in a group practice or in community mental health clinic, the mentorship feedback is so hard. You're running solo in private practice. If you're in a group practice or like a community mental health setting, sometimes you didn't even want to be with your supervisor. You are forced to be with your supervisor. It's like a mandatory opt in relationship. And because it's mandatory opt in, sometimes you don't even like them and they don't even like you. There's like no relationship there. And I wonder if anyone, I don't know who's still on, but like if y'all resonate with that, like as an early career therapist, if you're wondering if you're even a good enough therapist and your mentor is not even providing you adequate feedback or at best like neutral feedback, they're probably like getting underpaid for their job. If you're in a group practice or community mental health clinic, they're giving you mediocre feedback. Sometimes they're not even looking at your recorded sessions with your clients. So they're just going off of what they see you as in the break room, in between sessions. There's not a lot of feedback that they can actually give you. So in those days, I remember for me feeling like, okay, well, I guess I'm on my own. Um, how do I know that I'm doing well? And what they teach us in grad school is you could tell that you're doing well when your clients are doing well. That is a huge, huge setup for codependency, huge setup for like a really um like harmful relationship with yourself as a therapist and with your clients. In grad school, they also teach you like the way you know you're a good enough therapist is if your supervisor says you are. So all these things are like external measurements. And what I want to invite you to is to look inward and to go inward and what this like external metrics sets you up for is external over functioning. So what tangible step do we need to take and decision that we need to make in order to actually go inward and go deep and build that inner foundation is to first stop and stop doing external strategizing. Stop looking to external metrics for success, for your good enoughness, and to really start building that foundation and going deep to create a depth in your inner sturdiness. So the temptation is to get more trainings, get more credentialing. If I don't feel good enough, I'm going to just take another training and I'm going to feel good enough temporarily. But at the end of the day, it's not really going to give you this depth of like good enoughness that that self work, that inner work, that inner healing is going to give you by building that foundation inside. And so for folks who are looking for like business strategies or like more strategies to like decrease the overwhelm, to do away with the feeling of not good enough, my encouragement is to start to look inside first, to go in. And how that early decision for early therapists in their career is to create that identity shift, to trust. Hi, Katie Hall Foundation. Good to see you. Is to trust that the external metrics of success is not going to like fix the problems of us being insecure. And a lot of us folks who go into healing work, nonprofit work with the foundation, like helping professions, we do not go into, everyone has their personal reasons for going into it, but we don't all go into it because we're so secure. We go into it because we're not feeling secure about something. And these are just like protective strategies to help us feel less insecure. Our careers are sometimes, at least it was for me, my protective strategy of not feeling so insecure. But then that actually doesn't help me as I'm deepening my foundation as in my profession. Because now that I'm like deep into my career, 10 years into my career, relying on those external metrics to determine my goodness as a therapist is going to fall short. There's only so much trainings that I can do. There's only so much external feedback that I could get. And really, at the end of the day, if I'm relying on my clients' progress to see, to like count towards my good enoughness as a therapist, there, that is a recipe for like a lot of ups and downs. It's an emotional roller coaster if I'm looking to my client's progress as a mirror for whether I'm good enough. So how do I invite you? What is the invitation here for y'all to take that step to move into a direction out of burnout and into building that internal foundation? And for number one, it's slowing down requires an intentionality to not clutter your schedule when you see blank spaces. When we start seeing blank spaces in our schedule and we start getting like this sense of like fear of, oh my gosh, I'm not busy enough, I'm not doing enough, that begins to start to sabotage this like reflective space that is required to look inward. And the second is really having an identity shift of who is driving, who is in the driver's seat of your vehicle, of your life. So, if paradigm wise, like if we are looking at the vehicle of our life, like let's say we're like in the car, who is in your driver's seat making all the decisions in your life? And to really look at like who, maybe someone else is in the driver's seat of your life. Maybe it's your therapist part. Maybe it's your teenage self that is like really afraid of boredom. Maybe it's your previous version of yourself that did not get that affirmation that it needed in that season to feel like it was good enough. Just to be mindful of who's in the driver's seat of your life. And then what steps after that do you need to implement to really put yourself back in the driver's seat? Like, because if someone else is driving your car and it's taking you off cliffs or off roading, when you're like, I'm just trying to get from Seattle to LA, and it's taking you to Montana or Ohio or um, Las Vegas, we want to get back into the driver's seat to make sure that no one else is driving our car except for us. And this might seem abstract for a lot of folks, but I think what I want to invite y'all to consider is that we're made up of multiple parts of ourselves who have their own agendas, who have their own timelines, who have their own thoughts and beliefs, and stories and messages and history that are driving their beliefs. And they have their own self protective behaviors. So, whoever's in the driver's seat is going to be like, okay, well, actually, LA, if you're trying to go to LA is dangerous. It's super dangerous. And we're not going to LA today. We're going to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is much safer. When you know in your head, Las Vegas is like regression. Going to LA is actually progression. But that part sincerely believes that going to Las Vegas is actually safer. And to that part, it might be true, but that part is misguided and doesn't always know the big picture. It's stuck in a part of you in the past. So, the way I like to explain it for folks is when we can see that we're a mosaic and made up of different parts, then we can examine, oh my gosh, I actually haven't been in the driver's seat, and that's okay. Like, a lot of us are not, don't have the tool, we don't have the template to know what it's like to be in the driver's seat. We're conditioned to really defer to other people driving our bus for us. So a lot of us, especially for Asian, um, Asian siblings, what has been the reality for me is that my elders had been driving my bus for me. I don't know if y'all are whoever's tuned in right now, but if that resonates with you, let me know. Put a one in the comments. But for me as an Asian identified person, my elders, like, their duty was to drive my bus. And that was what I was conditioned with. So when I realized, like, that I'm made up of multiple parts, the part of me that was driving the bus in my life or driving the vehicle in my life, we weren't going to LA. We were going to, like, who knows where, because the part of me that was driving the vehicle really has their own fears and worries about me going to LA, and they don't want me to go to LA. And so for me, my work is to identify, there's three parts of this work, is to discover the parts that are even in your vehicle. So we go through that together. And then the second part is to release the part that is in the driver's seat. And the third is getting you back into the driver's seat, getting your intuition back, getting your higher self back, getting your wisdom back, your ancestral wisdom back into the driver's seat. And so that work involves compassionately releasing the part of you that is in the driver's seat, the part of you that, like, does not want you to go to LA, but you know you want to go to LA. You know you have dreams that live in LA, and you know that that's like where you need to go, whether that metaphorically is starting your own private practice, whether that means starting, leaving therapy altogether and doing coaching work or something, like some other, like, non-clinical work perhaps. Maybe it means for you to, um I don't know, maybe you have like dreams about, like, leaving the industry that you're in entirely and doing something different. Whatever it is, your metaphorical destination will be, there will be barriers to you going there. And if we don't know the parts of you that are coming up, there needs to be that clarity of, like, who's in the driver's seat, releasing the part that's in the driver's seat, and getting you back in the driver's seat. And it means getting to know that part's fears and worries, its needs, its behaviors that it's doing to protect you, and the stories that it has, the messages that it has, this history that it has about where it learned its behavior. And so in my group coaching program, we help Asian identified early career mental health therapists and other healers, adjacent healers, practitioners to slow down, look inward, and make that time for yourself to deepen the foundation, your inner foundation, instead of to, like, learn more things in trainings and credentials, but to, like, deepen your foundation so you could trust yourself. And I love, um, this internal family system framework that I use. I do some parts work, and I love it because it's not pathologizing. We see every single behavior as a protective behavior. Every single part is a protective part with good intentions, and all parts are truly welcome. There's no bad part in our system. And this is an incredibly freeing model because there's no shame, no judgment on your behaviors. And this is a model that values community, knowing that practitioners, healing practitioners, especially those in private practice and mental health group practices, we are very isolated, and doing things in community does actually lead to more self trust and self love. And ultimately, it leads to self connection, self leadership, compassion, curiosity, and more capacity to hold more chaos in our lives. I know we already hold a lot of chaos for our clients, but it allows us to hold not only our clients' chaos, but your own chaos. So, anyways, I will leave you here, and I hope that this has been helpful. If it's been helpful, let me know and drop your comments in the replay, and definitely send me your DMs with any questions that you may have. I hope you have a good day, a good weekend. I'll be doing 3 more lives next week and the week after. And then applications are open for my group coaching cohort, and it is for all Asian healers and practitioners. Specifically, it'll be geared more towards mental health therapists, but there is stuff in there for all healers. And I like to invite, especially my East Asian siblings that are doing this work, and really inviting y'all to do this work together because I know there are layers in our culture that are really specific to our culture that maybe other communities may not understand. And that's why I centered this work on especially like my East Asian siblings and healers and practitioners. So I'd love to do this work with you. The link is in the bio. There's a short questionnaire. Fill it out and then schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit. And then while we're on that call, I'll enroll you if we are a good fit. So just, yeah, giving you a heads up. I hope you take care and I hope you have a good weekend. We will be back next week. I'll see you later.